everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We have a special bonus episode for you today, a ranking episode. We are talking about the Muppets just for fun. It doesn't have anything to do with Hallmark at all because it's our show and we can do whatever we want. And I have Muppet May every year over on my channel because I'm a huge fan of the Muppets. And I was talking to Terry, and she is also a big fan. So we were like, let's do it. Let's do our ranking of Muppet projects, films, specials, the whole thing, our top 10. And Terry, what was this like for you? Diving into the world of Muppets.
It was great and also hard. And I watched so much stuff that I had forgotten about as a kid. So much stuff that I thought was a fever dream and was real. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it was super hard. I'll admit it was super hard.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to check out all of my Muppet May reviews, I'll have a link in the description. You should definitely take a look. I think they might be made last year doing it because I've pretty much covered anything that's a film or special. And so the only thing for next year would be to start covering the shows. Particularly the old Muppet Show, which I haven't watched that much of. I've watched a few episodes here and there, but yeah, that's kind of what I might have to do next year for Family Movie Night for Muppet May. But for now, I've really enjoyed covering all of these films, and it's fun once you get to dive into some of the more obscure films and see something new that you haven't seen before. But we also have very exciting for our patrons. We have a bonus, our 11 and 12 of our list. So if you want to hear more about us with the Muppets, join the Patreon. It's open to any member of the Patreon. Any dollar amount can listen to our bonus episode. And that's something we're going to be trying to do for these rankings whenever possible. So there's so many benefits to becoming a patron. You could be part of the watch-alongs, and we have Nina Weinman coming up this month. We're going to watch Double Holiday, so that's going to be awesome. Yep, she's a writer, awesome. Nina Weinman. And so that's going to be fun. I really try to make it absolutely worth your money to be part of the Patreon. So please check it out. I would really appreciate it. But let's dive in. What is your number 10?
The Dark Crystal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I rewatched this too. When I was a kid and I watched this, I thought the puppetry is still amazing and also incredibly disgusting at times. Like those evil guys eating grossed me out, Rachel.
Yeah.
But I decided to it was never really my thing. I decided to rewatch it. I was like, I'm an adult. I appreciate the puppetry. I mean, it does look amazing and it looks
unbelievable.
So good even today, because this is like a movie from 1982 and it looks still so good. Yeah. But the story just didn't engage me.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I admire more than I actually like. It didn't make my list, but I mean, the puppetry is just absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. I had to put it on my list for that alone.
Yeah, but it is definitely worth watching the I think it was 2019 the series that they did, The Dark Crystal. People should check that out. It was masterfully done, and it looked great as well. And so especially Netflix, right? if you like the movie, I mean, you got to see the series. It's so absolutely stunning.
Love this movie, but so many people love it. I always feel bad for not liking it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not much of a fantasy is a tough sell for me,
right?
I just find the story on this kind of boring, and once you get past the beautiful puppetry,
same with me. I couldn't get engaged with it, but it is worth to watch. Just like the way they're walking. I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing work that they did, and it should be watched and appreciated for the puppetry alone.
Yeah,
man, those evil guys are disgusting looking, though.
They really
Rachel
are. They really are.
Gross. Oh, and they're eating, and I was like, ew.
Yeah, that's true. Well, my number 10 is where I have The Tale of the Bunny Picnic.
Mm.
And this is a little short it's a little short about Bean Bunny and his family and the like I don't know what they call it, not the clan or whatever. I don't know what a group of bunnies is called. I can't remember. But anyway, the group. And the thing is, I mean, Bean Bunny is so adorable. Totally, so cute. And the thing about this is that the songs are actually like really good.
They are good.
I love the whole I Had a Dream, the Drum of Time song, Bunny Go High and Go Low. It's really good. Really good songs. And it's just cute. It's a cute little short.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's one that I hadn't seen until I started doing Muppet May.
I watched that as a kid, and I didn't put it on my list because I didn't have a chance to rewatch it, but I just couldn't remember it that well. And I was like, I don't feel like I should talk about it if I don't remember it that well. I just ran out of time to like see it, but they are adorable looking. I mean, you just want to cuddle them.
Who couldn't like Bean Bunny? I mean, only Scrooge in Christmas Carol. He throws them out.
Horrible man.
All right, what do you have at 9?
At 9, I have Turkey Hollow, which gave on Lifetime.
I still haven't seen this.
Yeah, well, this one, this gave on Lifetime. It's a Thanksgiving movie. And I think it's 2015. Jim Henson's daughter produced it. They found in the workshop they're monsters in the movie, and an unfinished or a finished draft of this story and never produced, and so they fixed up the puppetries and did it, and it's actually bonkers and fun. Like this divorced dad. I
have to watch this.
Yeah, so this divorced dad takes his 2 kids to go spend Thanksgiving with his aunt, who's played by Mary Steenburgen, and she's a real hippie, like organic all the way. She's got a farm. And of course, because you never see you see some turkeys, but you hear the turkeys gobbling all the time because it's Turkey Hollow. And the kids, he's like, hey, they have like this monster. And they're like, and they're like, don't believe that. That's just a tourist trap. And he's going to go search for it. So he goes out in the middle of the night and he steps on a neighbor, the mustache twirling neighbor who has a farm. He's killing turkeys, he's just selling turkeys and but he hears something because he finds his, like Mary Steenburgen's a husband. He has passed on, but he has all these journals and this sort of guitar thing that could talk to these, Sasquatch looking monsters or whatever. And so he's out looking for it, but he releases the turkeys. And then the neighbor's like, you've got to give me $10,000 or I'll take your lands. And the sheriff likes Mary Steenburgen, and he says the most inappropriate things, like in a very funny way to her, because he's so nervous around her, which is pretty funny. But essentially, these monsters look adorable. They eat rocks, they help the family out. And it's so bizarre because the aunt is so angry, like, I'll get you, the turkeys are addicted. They're not organic. They're addicted to some kind of chemicals.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so there's like a whole bunch of that stuff. And what's hysterically funny is that Ludacris pops up every now and then because he's the narrator of the story. And he goes, well, what happens now? And then
this was just on Lifetime?
This was a Lifetime TV movie for Thanksgiving. Random. Yeah. It's not on the streaming app. You can rent it or buy it on Amazon. And apparently I own this, which I completely forgot. I think I got a free credit one time from Amazon and I got this movie because I knew it would never repeat again. It's like, it's a lost gem, but it's bonkers. And I think that it's funny too. But it's like, this guy he's got his turkeys addicted to some kind of drug, and she's screaming organic, Yeah. He's such a hippie, and I like hippie tippy. It's ridiculous.
Also, if people want to see something really fresh with puppets, it's not Jim Henson related, but I just did the interview with Rudy Mancuso about his movie Musica. And I love the movie so much. It was so creative, so much fun. And he has puppetry in that. So is part of an element. It's just a wild burst of energy. And anyway, it just made me think of it with there's like there are still people doing really interesting creative stuff with puppets these days.
Totally.
And yeah, I definitely have to watch this.
So I would check. I don't know how everybody's gonna feel about it, but I would check this out because this is like I feel like this is something forgotten.
Yeah,
like Lifetime made such a big deal about it, and I was so excited, and I was like, maybe they'll make a sequel, and then nothing, you know. But
I mean, I'm a huge Muppet person. I never heard of it, so
yeah. So it doesn't have any. Yeah, it's not any recognizable of the Muppets or any of Jim Henson's creatures. These were just stuff that he worked on, prototypes that were just gathering dust.
It's got it in the name though, Jim Henson's.
Oh yeah, because it is his work. Like it's his script and his puppets, and they were just rotting away. And so his daughter found all this stuff, and they refurbished the puppets, like the monster puppets. Yeah, and like updated the script to make it. And so it's wonderful when you can find like a lost Jim Henson story, you know.
Well, my number 9 is where I have Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Really fun. I mean, it's mainly just for the songs. It's like hardly Christmas at all. Even the songs aren't really Christmassy songs, but they're so catchy.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Well, it's cute, but it's also like a little bit grittier, a little dirtier than like a typical when we think of the Muppets.
The Muppets got away with so much stuff back in the day. Rachel.
Yeah, and it looks so like kind of like it's supposed to be like Appalachian or whatever. Yeah. And these otters, and it looks like there's something that looks kind of poor and rugged, you know, about it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I appreciate that and all the, you know, the jug band instruments and such good songs, absolutely catchy. And so if you haven't seen Emmett Otter, it's really fun.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So what do you have at 8?
At 8, I have Labyrinth.
Okay. Yeah.
Another movie that I rewatched because as a kid, I was like, Rachel, I was the only child, the only teen who was like, it's all right. You know, I love David Bowie too, but like, I think he's bored throughout the movie. And, but rewatching it, I will say, I still don't get it. Like, because people love these movies. The same thing with Dark Crystal, but I do love the look of it. They've got some nice, like that whole Goblin Town and the fight that they have in the Goblin Town is pretty funny and so well made. And so like if you're watching this stuff for the like designs and the puppet effects and the creature effects, it's pretty funny. And what a rotten kid. Like, I hate you, my little brother. And then I gotta get my brother. Like just like we were all whiny teenagers, you know. So but so.
I mean it's another one that I admire more than I love.
Right.
So I didn't have it on my list. Again, me and the fantasy. But yeah, I mean I appreciate the moxie of it.
Totally. And like David Bowie, you got to check him out as the Goblin King, you know, walking around there, you know.
Yeah. Well, my number 8 is where I have Muppet Treasure Island.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Super fun. I really enjoy these. I wish they would do more of these Muppet takes on classic novels. I think they could have a lot of fun doing, like, what if they ever did like a Muppet Pride and Prejudice or something like that? Like
totally. They have they have an action. This was a book that came out. I saw it and I never got my hands on it. I think I'm going to look for a used copy because I saw it at a bookstore one time.
What do you mean?
It was the Muppet version of Phantom of the Opera. It was a book.
Oh my gosh.
It was the Phantom of the Opera, but with the Muppets involved. And I never got my hands on, like, I was like, oh, I'm at this bookstore. I didn't have enough money. And then when I went back, it was all gone. So I've been on the hunt for it ever since. And I'm probably going to find it on Kindle one day. But if they could do that, what they wrote, because they had a couple of Muppet adventures based on classic
So is
books.
Kermit the Phantom?
Yes. Miss Piggy is, Miss Piggy was
Christine?
on the cover. Yes. And I was like, oh my God. Because I'm thinking of the original. I'm thinking of the Phantom of the Opera book. And I was like, how did the Muppets do this with the original story?
Like, the Phantom is a murderer. Like, you can't have Kermit be the Phantom.
I know. I have to find this book. But I do remember there was a time where they were making like Muppet adventures of these. And I was like, why don't they make these into movies?
Well, I mean, this Muppet Treasure Island, I do have to say that Treasure Island is just not my favorite story. Like, even Treasure Planet, all the different, it's just not my favorite. But like, Tim Curry is so great in this. And I think that there's some like really good moments between Long John and Jim in this. And when he kind of betrays Jim, there's that like, but he lets him go at the end. It's really well done, and to have Kermit playing the captain was fun, and you've got all of our other characters, and the songs are cute. It's definitely a step down from Christmas Carol, but I think Tim Curry's performance is so good that it had to make my list.
It's fun too. Like,
yeah. So what is your number 7?
So my number 7 is the 2011 The Muppets, which I thought was such a fun way to bring the Muppets back into the mainstream, because they had been, I guess, missing for a bit, at that time. And I thought it was fresh and it's fun, and it has, we see it through the eyes of a super fan of the Muppets and his human brother. I think it's played by Jason Segel, right?
Yeah.
I think Amy Adams is in this movie too. And he has to like put the band back together, because they're all gone their separate ways at this time. And he's like, oh no, my dream. I'm going to put the Muppets back together and perform with them. And he also has to stop an oil magnate in this as well, who's trying to destroy things, because they got to throw in some of that, they got
maniacal laugh.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Maniacal laugh. Yeah, I have that actually at 6, so I'm close to you. It's really fun. I love how it just embraces being a musical with the big musical numbers.
Right, totally.
It's got that kind of really broad comedy that the early Muppets films had, like when they you see the car going on the map, you see the line, but then it actually shows them coming up from the water. It's I don't know, just little things like that are kind of fun. And it's got your celebrity cameos like you expect with the Muppets, and we forget this Oscar winning the Muppets. Man or a Muppet won the Oscar there.
Yes, that's right. I was just thinking about it.
There were only 3 nominees. Like, what happened in songs that year?
I don't know.
3.
Sometimes it's weird. It's like when the makeup only has 2 or 3 nominations. It's like, what happened?
What? But I have at number 7 is where I have a Muppet Family Christmas.
Oh, I have that higher. A bit, slightly higher.
Yeah, this is a real treat for a Muppet fan, because it's the only one that has everything.
Yeah.
It's got your Muppet characters, it's got your Sesame Street characters, it's got your Fraggle Rock characters, it's got Muppet Babies, it's got,
oh my gosh, Muppet
everything.
Babies.
Yeah.
Poor Fozzie's mom, though. Had to give up her California trip. Guys, if you're going to watch this, watch it for the scene alone where the Christmas turkey comes, because the Swedish chef invited him, and he doesn't get it at first that he's dinner, but he starts smacking on Gonzo's girlfriend, Camille the chicken. And there's this scene, he's like, he's like, "Hey, babe," and it's like, what is going on here? And Gonzo's like, "Hey," because he's all touching her cheek, like, and this is a turkey puppet wearing sunglasses with Camille the chicken, and Gonzo's like, "That's my girlfriend," and they start fighting over her. And you gotta watch it just for that, people. And also, the Swedish chef tries to cook Big Bird. Oh my gosh.
I love a Swedish chef so much.
He tries to cook Big Bird, which was hysterical. He's trying to
yeah, really funny. And it's very sweet that you get to see Jim Henson in this.
Yeah, right at the end. Yeah. So it's so sweet. And it's actually so clever how they wrap in how the Sesame Street characters come, and even how they wrap in how they add in like Fraggle Rock, because at first it's just and I can't remember his name, the older guy with the dog, and he's like, we're trying to escape the dog's trying to escape the Fraggle Rock, but then they go, hey, is this so convenient? Hey, look, there's a Fraggle Rock cave. Can we go in, Uncle Kermit? And it's Miss Piggy's photo shoot. When she's like, Kermit, I'm on my way. And she's like, Miss Piggy, glamour shot, glamour. And she's lifting up her leg. So funny. It's so funny. It's great.
It's definitely one of the more underrated ones because it was a TV special. I think
totally.
I think really know about it. But it's just fun to see all of our characters all together.
Yeah. It's just a wonderful, the songs are great.
Yeah.
The way they arrange everything. And I highly recommend
traditional carols they have.
Totally. Yeah.
So let's see. What do you have at 6?
At 6, I have Dog City, the movie which led to because there used to it's ended up being a series and also a cartoon, but basically it's a bunch of dogs. This is the greatest. I don't like dog movies, but this is the greatest dog movie ever.
It's just another one I have not seen, so maybe
Maybe I will be able
to do Muppet May next year.
Yeah, it's on Tubi.
Okay,
it's on another streaming service. I saw it on Tubi, but I think it's on at least 2 or 3 streaming services. I think it's on Amazon Prime too. But so basically it takes place in the 30s, and it's a gangsters. They're gangsters. The dog inherits this. He's a shepherd. And he inherits his uncle, which turns out to be his long lost dad. And he's a shepherd, and like the gangster and his mall. Oh my gosh, Rachel, I'm laughing just thinking about it. And they're like, you need to give me protection money. And this gangster has killed his father. And he's a shepherd. He goes, I won't do any violence because I used to have to chase sheep. Do you know how sheep laugh at you? So he's got this trauma of chasing sheep. And of course, Ralph is there playing the piano and narrating. And he meets, another dog, and they fall in love. But she keeps needling him. Like, well, if he killed my father, I would have gotten to him. Like, she won't let it go. And he's like, I won't do violence.
Well, it's also so random that in the world of the Muppets, there's Ralph the dog.
Oh, yeah.
There's also the dogs.
Exactly, which are in this movie too. What's one of the funniest things too is the one they're on the pier, and there's like this. I believe it's a bulldog, but he's a bad guy. He's a thug, but he has a real disciplinary problem. So he goes to like training school, and in the middle of the thing, the dog's like, "What did you say?" Yeah, well, I'm just gonna sit on this, and then he sits on it and gets hit by like moving crates because he's at the docks. It's such a long gag, but it is hysterical the way they're like, "Oh, well, what did you say? Roll over?" And then he starts rolling over. It's so funny, and then Ralph is like, "Get it? It's a dog joke," and they have so many like dad jokes and corny,
I definitely have to watch that.
You have to watch this one. Yeah, and this is the best. This really good. Had me in stitches, and they talk. It's like a gangster movie from the 30s. And the dogs look so good too. Like all the puppetry and the variations of them is so good. And have you ever had a sheep laugh in your face? Rachel, it's so funny. And there's serious music playing, and it's like a trauma he has to live through.
Oh my gosh.
But the bad guys are so funny.
I think I will have enough to do next year, Muppet May.
This one.
Shows. Yeah.
This is something that I forgot that I had watched when I was a kid, and I had forgotten about it because I remembered the cartoon because that was in the 90s. And so I went on a hunt for this, and I was like, yes. So I highly recommend it, people.
Like I said, I have the Muppets at 6.
Yeah.
So what do you have at 5?
This is where I have the Great Muppet Caper.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's kind of like, they're not, the Muppets are not playing themselves. They're playing like different versions of themselves because I think they're great. I love this movie because Miss Piggy's a jewel thief. But also that Kermit and Fozzie, the running
it's kind
gag,
of like the story ones, like the
right, like the
storylines and totally. Treasure Island.
Exactly. Like Kermit and Fozzie are, the running gag in this movie is that they're identical twins. And the only way that you can tell them apart is when Fozzie wears a hat. And this gag goes throughout the whole entire movie, but I love it so much because it's just silly enough that, you know, like I can't tell you guys apart.
Yeah. Great. I mean, the most amazing thing about this movie is the song, the scene where Kermit is cycling with Piggy. I mean, how they were able to pull that off. Couldn't We Ride is the song. How they were able to do that with puppets is absolutely unbelievable because like usually with puppets, they're coming from below is how they do it, unless it's like a Big Bird where they're actually in the Big Bird costume. He actually had to hold his hand up to do the face, you know, kind of a thing. And, you know, he's obviously in the outfit, but, you know, so there's some like that, but for the most part, they're coming from underneath. And if you watch the behind the scenes of the particular Muppet Christmas Carol, Michael Caine talks about how they had these like panels that they could walk, they had to walk on. They're very narrow, and then next to it were these like pits basically where the puppeteers were with their hands, you know, up and everything. And then the other way they sometimes do it is they have the puppeteers in green screen outfits, you know, and so then they can you know, eliminate them. But you couldn't do either of that with the cycling, so I don't know how they did it. It's unbelievable, but that's like just a feat.
it totally is. And I can't believe it, like the cameo, they got Peter Ustinov in this, and I was like, how'd they get him? I think John Cleese has a cameo in this one too. So like, and I do wonder like if a younger audience would recognize some of these people because these are older movies, but like I still do, and so it still brings me joy when I see it.
Well, and Charles Grodin was the best as villains. He was so funny.
Oh my god. Oh, and I think it's Diana Rigg, right? Who's she's in it. Yeah, it's her.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
My number 5 is where I have Christmas Eve on Sesame Street. This is one of my favorite Christmas TV specials. I
forgot about this one. Yeah,
I love this one so much. You have this whole plot of Oscar telling Big Bird that Santa's not going to be able to get down the chimney because he's too fat, and so Big Bird and Kermit spend most of the special trying to figure out how he can do it, and then you know, like they're interviewing kids, and it's when they used to do the Kermit would be like a Kermit reporter guy on Sesame Street. I don't know now if you see Kermit and Piggy on Sesame Street much.
I don't believe so at all.
Probably not. But at the time, he would do these like reporter segments.
Oh yeah, totally,
yeah. And so this was 1978, so pretty early on, and those are so cute. The little kids are adorable, and then you also have a great scene where Cookie is trying to write a letter to Santa, and he keeps eating. He eats the typewriter. He eats because he's just talking. I can't keep talking about cookies. He eats the pencil. He eats the that's a great sequence. And then I absolutely love this whole sequence with Bert and Ernie. Bert and Ernie decide they're going to buy each other presents for Christmas, and they end up with this whole like gift of the Magi moment.
Oh, yes.
So then Bert sells his paperclip collection to buy a holder, a dish for Ernie's rubber ducky.
Yeah.
But then and they do it to Mr. Hooper. They sell it to Mr. And then Ernie sells his rubber ducky to get a cigar box for Bert's paperclip collection.
I know, it's so sweet.
And then Mr. Hooper shows up, and of course he's Jewish, and he's like, I want to make sure everybody gets what they wish for Christmas, and he has given them back their stuff, and then they sing "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas."
That's so sweet.
The cutest thing. I love it so much. And then you have this whole, at the end, you have Big Bird getting lost because he's up on the roof trying to wait for Santa Claus, so they're all worried about.
I wonder how he got up there, because I've never seen him fly.
Yeah,
it was an episode where he was sad he couldn't fly.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I love when Maria yells at Oscar. It's so funny. Oscar. And just such some good songs. Keep Christmas with you all through the year.
I did forget about this one. Yeah,
they do the I forget what the name of the deaf adult, what her name was. I loved her though. And they do that whole song with sign language.
Yeah.
Linda. So Linda is there, and they do that whole song. Keep Christmas with you all through the year. I absolutely love this special. It's a favorite.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about this one because it's been so long since I've seen it. Yeah, but it's like the classic. I feel like Sesame Street just isn't Sesame Street anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, you have to keep it up to date, and at least like they're getting that HBO money, now to keep it on. But I do feel like there's something special about like the classics. Like they don't make it like they used to.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, what do you have at 4?
At 4, this is where I have A Muppet Family Christmas. It's great.
Yeah,
and also
it's really fun.
Funny thing about Oscar, he's actually kind of nice in this, and he bunks with Rizzo. Rizzo shares his garbage can. And that's right. And he's like, I've never had a rat in my garbage can. And even as a child, I was like, Oscar keeps it clean. Then he doesn't have any rats in his garbage can. So he's a grouch, but he's a tight.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's really fun. Well, my number 4 is where I follow that bird. This and Elmo and Grouchland are like the 2 feature films from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And this movie is really weird. It's really bonkers. And the funniest thing to me is that I never realized that Big Bird is his actual like name. Like Bird is his last name, Big is his first name. And because when he gets adopted by the Dodo family in this movie, he becomes Big Dodo. And he's like, how do I feel about being Big Dodo? And he misses his friends. And it's just got such a nice message about, chosen family, and as opposed to, necessarily like being the like League of Birds thinks that he used to be with his own kind. And be.
I don't think I've seen this one. Yeah.
So he gets adopted by the Dodo family and leaves Sesame Street, and of course Snuffy, his best friend, and he thinks it's going to be great, and there's this whole like League of Birds or whatever that thinks that all birds should be with birds and not and so it does have some kind of themes too about like
what makes it family and stuff like that,
immigrants and stuff like that too, and that we should be accepting of everybody, and we can chosen families and everything, but it's mostly like really weird and really funny and sweet. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Follow that bird.
But you're right. As a kid, you don't really think like Big Bird is like his first, like his government name, his first and last name. Because I was like, that's just his street name. That's like his nickname.
Yeah. And if people want to, it is available on Hoopla. So if people want to watch it for free, you can watch it on Hoopla. Follow that bird. Yeah. So what do you have at 3?
This is where I have the Muppets Take Manhattan.
Same. I have a 3 as well.
Yeah.
I bet we have the same 3. I would be.
I think. Yeah. So like, they have I think Liza Minnelli and Art Carney and all these people are in this movie as cameos and whatnot. But basically, the Muppets are putting on their own version of Manhattan Melodies, right? Yeah. Or something like that. And they go to New York to try to make it big on Broadway. And of course, the producer of the show gets arrested because he's a con artist. And, and Kermit's trying to get a job and keep everybody together. And of course, they split up because they think they're a burden to Kermit, and he's all stressed out. And he's still trying to get this show made, but the Muppets go their separate way. And of course, Miss Piggy stays behind in New York, spying and getting jealous on Kermit and the waitress at the diner. But what I do think is funny in this one too is that we see what some of the Muppets are up to while they leave New York, and Fozzie lives with a bunch of bears in a cave, but he can't hibernate with the other bears, and he doesn't know what to do. So that's funny. And of course, Miss Piggy gets the gang back together for Kermit to only have lose his memory. So it's really funny, and I think this one came after the Muppet Caper, if I'm not mistaken. But this was something I watched as a kid growing up constantly because it was always on TV, and it's just delightful.
Yes, this one came after. So this came in 1984, and Caper was in 1981.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Miss Piggy, I think she tricks Kermit into like really getting married.
Yeah, they have a wedding at the end.
They have a wedding at the end of this. Like it's supposed to be. I forgot who's it supposed to be, but it's a real preacher, and he's like, what? And he's like gulping, and like she's beautiful walking in that wedding dress, and that scene, and I love. Yeah. If you look, you could find that clip just on YouTube alone. If you look at all the puppets, the extras, like,
it's really fun. I mean, at
Kermit's
the wedding,
all the frog family and all the pig family.
Yeah,
there.
Big Bird is there. All the Bert and Ernie, all the Sesame Street are there.
Yeah, Fraggle Rock. Like if you look closely, the Fraggle Rock gang is there, and it's hysterical.
Yeah, really fun. Definitely. It doesn't have much story. It's pretty light on story.
No, it's pretty light in it, but there are some like scenes like poor Fozzie. Like he gets like
yeah.
I'd have no problem hibernating. I'm just gonna say that. I'd go along right with it.
If only every Broadway show could have Miss Piggy and Kermit in this movie.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
What do you have at 2?
This is where I have the Muppet movie.
Yeah. So we have the same.
Yeah. So it's like this is the movie that started it all, like the first Muppet, like the first feature-length movie, and it's basically how everybody met, and the Miss Piggy at a state fair. The greatest moment in this movie to me, it is silly and probably dumb now, but it's like Fozzie's driving the car, of course, and Kermit's, and he's reading the map, and he's like, Fozzie, there's a fork in the road coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, I see it. And they literally pass a really giant fork stuck in the road. And it gets me every time.
I do. I love Steve Martin with the
wine. Yes. Yeah.
That's really funny.
And they get kidnapped in this one, too. Like, they try to kidnap his piggy.
Yeah.
You hurt my Kirby.
I think that Rainbow Connection is maybe the best song written for a film.
When he's on that lily pad, and
I love that song so much. And all the other songs are great. The moving right along.
Yeah, totally.
Thing. Yeah,
and it looks so good, like the puppetry and everything, like just the visuals and everything. It looks so good. Like I believe Fozzie's driving that car.
Oh yeah, yeah. Moving right along.
Totally.
Footloose and fancy free.
Oh, great music. A couple of years ago, they were playing. I can't remember what anniversary it was, and I went to the theater, and I thought it's probably going to be mostly people my age, a little bit older, and the theater was packed because I went to the local art house theater that was playing it. But there were people older than me, my age, and younger, even little kids, all ages, and people were just loving this movie. And I don't think kids even cared. They didn't care. Like, they didn't recognize who those famous people were, because this movie was like 79, right? So, like, there's these people, like, the youngins don't know who these celebrities were at the time. And I had forgotten who some of them were myself. But they didn't care because the jokes were still funny. It was still so entertaining and fun. And it's
really reassuring when you have that experience. Like recently, I went to, there's this Maven Cinemas, Revival Cinemas by me, which has just been amazing. And I went to, they had a Looney Tunes pajama party. It was a Saturday morning, and they had this cereal bar, so you could eat all the cereal you wanted and watch Looney Tunes. And I was so happy that there was such a good turnout. It was pretty much full, and families with their kids all in pajamas and watching Looney Tunes, and everybody was dying laughing.
Right, yeah.
And it just, because you think, like, are those jokes, not going to land?
Are they going to land? But yeah,
but they do. They still do. I mean, funny is funny, and it still works.
I think sometimes today we're just too. I think it's hard when something is too pop, like in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, what do you call that? The pop.
Like parody.
Yeah, like too in the moment with pop culture. Like too in the moment with what's happening in pop culture. I think those jokes might not last the test
that's
of
why
time.
For me, Shrek was sort of a one-time watch for me. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, that was funny.
I don't think
then when I watched it again, I was like, oh, it's not as funny because like it's just so much of the humor was of the moment, as opposed to just being funny. And
right. There's always movies that you love as a child that you're afraid to watch as an adult. Yeah,
true.
Because you're afraid it just might not have aged well, but not for the Muppet movie. The Muppet movie has aged incredibly. And also True Beverly Hills has always aged well.
I can't go with you there, but
okay.
I don't like it.
All right, hold on, Rachel. Let me get my smelling salts. I can't believe this. No, hold on. Hold on. I gotta get my smelling salts. Hold on.
We can agree on the Muppet movie, but I'm like such a Grinch when it comes to 80s comedies. Almost none of them. I didn't like Beverly Hills Cop. I didn't like Lethal Weapon. I didn't like National Lampoons, the first one. I didn't like so
okay, I'm good with you on National Lampoon.
I'm not on that wavelength, I guess.
Wait a minute. Lethal Weapon is not a comedy movie, Rachel. It is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie, but I didn't care for it. Shane Black is just not for me. I just don't.
No, I get it. It's funny. It's because I only like the Lethal Weapon movies that he does. I got into a big argument with my brother one time. Yeah. A huge argument over Lethal Weapon, whether it was a Christmas movie or not, and Die Hard. I was like, they're at a Christmas party, and I was like, you should have seen this full blown. We were yelling at each other, and everybody's laughing at us. But anyway,
if I ever get this screenplay I've been working on, I have a whole section of where they're debating about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. I'm on team.
But it is. Absolutely. It's a Christmas movie, people. Come on. You should have seen the fight, Rachel. You would have died laughing. Just having us fight. And, he's needling me. And I was like, I'm right. You just won't accept it.
Well, my number one and yours, both
Yes.
The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Totally.
I mean, no big surprise given we're Christmas people and
Right.
we're on a podcast. But what a wonderful movie.
It is completely wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, such a great blending of human characters and Muppet characters, and to get to see to have Kermit and Piggy married, and they're all the girls are pigs and the boys are frogs.
And the boys are
it's
frogs.
So funny.
I still don't know how that works, but we'll let it go.
Yeah, and the absolutely wonderful songs. It's some magic
Rizzo,
in the air.
yeah,
and
Rizzo is so good in the movie too. Like the use of Rizzo and Gonzo.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Movie.
Hope is in the heart when people love and share.
It also means a lot too, because like Jim Henson had died at this point.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are like,
first one back.
Right, where do we go from here? Right, where do we go from here? What do we do? And this movie was what people really needed, you know, because you're all nervous. Like, what happens when the brainchild, like the creator, the one who spirits this company, like what will happen now? And I think this movie really helped continue the Muppets, you know, until today. Though I wish that Disney, because they own them now, would use them better. I feel like, you know, they're not using them to the potential.
I do too. I mean, they you know, they had a problem with Muppets Most Wanted is that there's just not enough Muppets. It's like it just gets overwhelmed by Tina Fey and some of the other human characters.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like that movie didn't do well, and so then they just kind of gave up, and it's sad because I think there is still a market there.
Yeah, you know, like totally, they could come up with another one. I mean, they've tried some stuff with the TV, and maybe that's where they should go. But they should do more specials. They had a Halloween special.
Yeah,
but they need to do like some more. Yeah, they need to do like a Christmas special, and not the new Muppet Babies cartoon, which was a disappointment. Yeah, like my niece, my niece at least just aged out when that was first, you know, starting up on Disney Junior, and I was so excited. I was like, because I loved the Muppet Babies growing up, and then I saw that, and I was like, this looks like a CGI mess.
But there's so much funny humor. It's a real smart script, this Muppet Christmas Carol. I love when like the bookkeepers want an extra thing of coal, and he says, how would the bookkeepers like to spend the unemployment line? And this is my island in the sun.
And like Michael Caine is so good in this movie.
Yeah, he's really good. And he talked about in the behind the scenes that he just treated as if he was with any other actors.
Yes, exactly. That's why it's such a good performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's like he's looking the Muppets right in the eye, Rachel.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that we got the song back.
Yes. Why did they ever delete it?
Yeah, it was weird. That was bizarre. But
it was on the soundtrack.
Yeah. And I love Statler and Waldorf, Marley and Marley.
These are that's another thing I forgot too about the Muppet Family Christmas, that Fozzie is disgusted that his mom is friends with Walter. I can think he'd make a friend of his comedy special. Anyway, I love those were my favorite when I watched the Muppet shows.
Yeah,
you know, growing up, they were my favorite because they were the hecklers, and I was like, yeah, you make fun of them. Yeah.
Marley and Marley, our hearts were painted black.
There's a great. I think it's an SNL skit with them with the Muppets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's with
Keegan-Michael Key.
Yes. Yes, it's him. Where he's like they start heckling. They start heckling and he comes up and he accidentally roughs them up, and you see them with a black eye. And they're like, you just beat, and everybody's aghast. You just beat up a handicapped old man. It is like so funny, Rachel.
Well, even like, they say to you, were always heckling me. We were always
Yeah. So I mean, this is a great movie. Everybody's in it. Everybody's used really wonderfully, and all your favorite like Muppet characters are there. Gonzo and Riz.
And they have
Rizzo's like, I gotta feed my 500 brothers and sisters.
Yeah. Rats don't understand these things. But they have a ton of the text as well because they have Dickens as a character. They've
unbelievable how faithful
Dickens.
that. Yeah,
it really has a lot of the actual text, which is fun. A great way to introduce your kids to one of the classic stories.
That and the animated version where Scrooge McDuck is.
I mean, that was so brilliant because
Yeah.
I mean, you have a character named Scrooge McDuck. Like,
totally.
It's perfect.
But yeah, this is the Muppet Christmas. It's just wonderful. This is probably the Muppet movie I've seen the most.
Yeah.
And I guess I was starting to age out when this movie came out, but I didn't care. I loved it. My sister gave it to me like on the big VHS. Remember those big VHS cases that they had back in the day?
Yeah.
I remember my sister gave me that for Christmas. And I watched it all the time. We all watched it together. It's so much fun. It's so great.
We always watch it on Christmas Eve because, after all, there's only one more sleep till Christmas.
Yeah. And it was so popular and so good that we did get Treasure Island and the Muppets in Space. And they made movies again after this. Not all of them as successful, but...
What do you think would be a good classic literature story that they could do if they did another? So they've done Treasure Island, they've done Christmas Carol. What do you think?
I want to do something adventurous.
Like Huckleberry Finn? I mean, is that too like...
Is it crazy that I said that I was thinking the Count of Monte Cristo?
Yeah, it could be fun. I guess Huckleberry Finn is too weighty. It has too many like heavy
What about
themes.
the Boy in the Iron Man? No, the Three Musketeers, Rachel.
Three Musketeers. Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, Miss Piggy has to be one of them. My mother always.
So if you had Piggy and Kermit, who would be the third? Fozzie?
Yeah. Well, no, because there's really 4 Musketeers, which this angered my mother.
Oh, that's true.
My mother always like, why do they call it 3 Musketeers? There's 4, just because this guy comes and goes. Like my mother was hardcore Musketeer.
So you would have, let's see, you'd have Piggy, Fozzie, Kermit, and Gonzo probably.
I mean, I don't know if I'd pick Gonzo as one of them, but probably. But Miss Piggy would have to come in, I mean, she'd have to be.
She could be a fun D'Artagnan.
Totally.
I could see that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there you go. Another great idea. We're giving you
who
free Disney.
Who would play the queen? Camille the chicken.
Well, I mean, you could have the one human character be one of the Musketeers. So
totally.
You could have Kermit.
Yes, that's true.
Kermit, Piggy, and Fozzie, and then you could have Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? Or whatever.
No, not Ryan Gosling, please. You know who they'd pick, though.
I'm just trying to think of somebody who's like a big, like...
You know who they would pick? They would totally pick Timothée Chalamet.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you. Like, it would be Timothée Chalamet. And then...
Hey, I'd watch that all day.
Can you imagine Timothée Chalamet with the Muppets? And now I think that...
Yeah.
Could you imagine if the Muppets did Dune, Rachel? With Timothée Chalamet? Kermit the Frog is like,
yeah.
Please,
I would be. I mean, who wouldn't watch that? I mean, come on.
Who's gonna play the evil guy from Dune as a puppet? Oh my gosh, what have I done? Okay,
so there we go. That is our ranking, and make sure you check out you become a patron. You get our 11 and 12. On our list, and we talk some more about those and those picks. So you definitely should join the Patreon. So many great benefits. And I did ask speaking of the Patreon, I asked the patrons for their favorites. And so we got Alicia Lomas Gross says Muppets Take Manhattan, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Mm-hmm. She says, I was big into Fraggle Rock, but I guess there hasn't been a movie. So I told her, you should check out
there wasn't.
Family Christmas.
Totally. They're in it, you know?
They've announced that. You remember there was that announcement of a
I don't
Rock
think, yes,
movie
it's
Joseph
in
Gordon-Levitt?
development. Yeah, for years.
Yeah,
Oh, thank gosh.
never went anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not a big Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan. I remember when he became the it boy for like 5 minutes, and I was like, hard pass. I mean, nothing against
Oh, really?
him. I'm sorry.
I like him pretty good.
It's just that there are some, that sounds mean of me to say, but I don't mean that in a mean. There's just, some actors you don't get, like, you don't understand.
Yeah. So Steve Hahn, he says Muppet Movie, The Great Muppet Caper, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, The Muppets Christmas Carol, The Muppets Most Wanted, and The Muppets Take Manhattan. He says, I liked I Am Big Bird and Muppet Mayhem, but they seem like different categories, so I couldn't figure that into the ranking. And I didn't like Muppet Treasure Island. It felt boring, or Muppets from Space. Muppets from Space is definitely one that is very unpopular. I kind of like it because it's just this like weird existential movie with Gonzo connecting.
It killed the Muppet movies, right?
Yeah, it did. It did.
It killed the Muppet movies.
And I can understand why. It's not the best, but I think it's weird enough that I kind of appreciate it.
Yeah. Gonzo finds his origins. Like, what am I? You know?
The worst Muppet movie is, well, Kermit's Swamp Years is really terrible, but also the Muppets Wizard of Oz is really bad.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's very bad. It's very, very, very bad.
Oh,
but Becky Schopner, she says, I've always adored Muppets Christmas Carol. It's one we watch several times in the holiday season. I'm also a big fan of Muppets Take Manhattan.
Yeah.
So there we go. So again, check out the Patreon. You won't regret it. And you can hear our additionals and be part of these episodes. Please take a look. And Terry, where can people find you?
I am at Twitter at Flurry Heaven.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can find my Muppet May series as well over on Rachel's Reviews. So check that out. And please, if you are listening on iTunes, please if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate it. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our merch store. You get all kinds of fun designs over there. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.